Hello, 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 welcome! Today is my monthly upload on my YouTube channel. Hooray! Everybody claps with joy! Today I'm going to be talking about bus stories, and I figured that this is going to be a yearly segment on this channel where every single year I talk about my experiences being a bus driver. Because, oh boy, April 11th was my 1-year anniversary at my current job, and a lot of things have happened in a year's time, so I figured I might as well come on camera and talk to you about some of my crazy experiences that I've had as a bus driver. Some are funny, some are serious, some are crazy, and some are scary. It's a mixed variety of variation that makes the day job very, very different every single day, 5 days a week. No day is quite like the same, and it's a very fun job, but it has its scary moments and it has its really heartwarming moments, but it's just ultimately a job that really keeps you on the edge of your feet. If my camera disconnects randomly, it's going to be because my cat is underneath my desk punching things. But yeah, so let's jump into this. If you didn't see my video last month in March, I uploaded a video titled 1 year after my diagnosis. That's still on my channel. If you want to catch up, all of these videos that I'm making once a month about kind of all piggyback off one another in terms of like what I'm talking about and subject wise and like what's going on in my personal life. Because I just figured that I might as well upload once or twice a month and keep you guys updated with things going on with me, and you get to see more of a raw side of Daniel Repzion that has never really ever been put out on the internet before, because I've separated myself from YouTube as a job and career, and it's been the best thing for me. But that was for another video, so go watch other videos if you want to catch up because you're behind. But let's do this. So April 11th of last year, 2024, I became a bus driver, and in that process of becoming a bus driver, you go through pretty extensive training, at least at my job. Different bus companies have different forms of training, but mine was very, very, very thorough and very, very strict, and they're very strong about policy and doing the right thing and being able to do things according to how the rules are set up for safety, and just to become be the best possible customer service driver as you possibly can. At least that's the company that I work for. That's what they try to push onto us trainees, because when you start as a bus driver, you're learning everything. You're learning how to drive a bus, you're learning how to operate a bus. It just so happens that the company that I work for has like 5, 6, actually 7 different forms of buses, and they're all different models of buses. Therefore, like the buttons and everything on these big tanker machines are all different. They drive different, they feel different. There's EV buses now, which I don't like the EV buses at all. But yeah, it's quite you have to adapt, and you learn all these new things, and some buses start differently, some buses brake differently. The buttons are all in different spots. The ADA wheelchair, are all different. How you strap people in is all different. It's very overwhelming going in as somebody who doesn't know anything, and then you're learning all this stuff, and then on top of that, you're learning how to drive, and then you have to learn how to, interact with customers while driving and all this crazy stuff, and learn routes, because there's bus routes and bus stops, and it's a lot. Anyways, bus stories. So, in the first few months that you start driving, you're pretty much alone with your instructor, right? So you're in the alone with your other classmate, and you're with an instructor for the first I think it was like the first 6 weeks. You're just with people, and you're working on like learning these things and learning how to drive and all that stuff. Normal stuff with getting your commercial driver's license. However, after the 6-7 week period, you are pretty much put out on your own, and you're on 1,200 hour probation. And pretty much in that 1,200 hours, you can't screw up. They're very, 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 very strict on your probation. And if you break the rules, or you do things you shouldn't do, or you cause an accident, you will absolutely be let go. So your probation period is really important, and 1,200 hours is the longest probation period I've ever had in any job. But I did it, and I didn't fail. I didn't mess up. I didn't do anything wrong. But when you get out on your own, it is a very daunting, terrifying experience. And if you have driven a bus, or maybe you're a commercial driver in some way, when after you get out of training, it can be really scary being out on your own, because it's like, hey, you've learned all this stuff. Now apply what you've learned, and you're off. You know, I'm in a mobile office, essentially. I'm in a bus. It's my bus. I make the rules of the road, essentially. I can deny people. I can let people come on. I can tell people to get off. I can make rules up that don't actually exist just because I have a crazy ego if I want to, which, referencing other older bus drivers who tend to operate that way. But after you get out of training, it's scary. So my first day, all right, this is story one. I think we have about maybe 7-6 stories here. My very first story starts on day one of me being on my own. And I was told that when you're out on your own, you're going to have a wake-up call. I had my wake-up call. My wake-up call was pulling up to a bus stop, and I had my first ADA person in a wheelchair. I wasn't super nervous about it, because I knew what I had to do. I knew what steps I have to take. You have to put the thing in neutral. You got to put on the hazard lights. You have to kneel the bus. You got to lower it. Then you have to use the ADA ramp. And then you have to yell, ADA ramp coming out. And then you have to make sure nobody's going to walk forward and then trip over it and break their neck and slice their neck open because people are stupid and they don't see a gigantic ramp opening. Like, there's a lot of little idiosyncrasies you have to do when doing ADA. But I knew what I was doing. ADA opens. It's a person in a wheelchair. They couldn't get up the ramp. So I offered, me, being my first job, and I want to be the best customer service person there possibly is. I'm like, hey, do you need help? Do you need me to push you? And she's like, yeah, I need help. So I get behind her, push her up there. And then it just so happens that I asked her how her day was going. Hey, how are you doing? And she's like, oh man, I just got out of cancer dialysis because she had cancer. Now, I should also mention that she's missing a leg, and she also has a catheter in her, which is like wrapped over her shoulder and like goes on the side of her wheelchair. Now, you probably know where this is going. What do you think happened? I've never pushed anybody in a wheelchair before, and they have a catheter tube, right? So the catheter tube actually gets stuck on the wheel as I'm pushing, and then it gets stuck on one of the hinge thingies on the bus. I don't know the mechanical piece. There's the hinge. It got stuck on like the ADA ramp as she was coming on, and it was stuck on her wheel. Now, I had a decision to make. I could either continue pushing her, and might I mention that the catheter tube was also full of urine. And very, very warm urine, might I add. And I stopped and I said to her, oh man, I said that your tube is stuck. And she's like, oh, sir, could you unravel that for me? I'm put in another situation. I can say no, which legally I don't actually have to do that. Like, I don't have to help her with her catheter tube. If I didn't want to do that, I don't have to. Granted, that would put her in a tough situation, and it would probably tear and get ripped out, and then I have warm urine everywhere. But I decided, hey, you know what? This person just got out of cancer dialysis. My dad went through stage 3 pancreatic cancer. My dad's survived cancer. I feel really bad for this person. I want to help them. So I very slowly unraveled this warm catheter tube off of the wheel, and then I put it in front of her, and then it got stuck again on the wheelchair leg thing. It got wrapped like underneath, and as I was about to push, she was like, stop, you gotta unravel it around my foot, her other foot, because she was missing a leg, right? So I unraveled that on the wheelchair, and then put it like all bunched up in the side of where she was sitting, and that was that. And I put her to her spot. But like when this was happening, right, all I could think about when I was unraveling this tube is like, don't screw this up, Daniel. Don't screw this up. This is your first day. You don't want warm urine all over the bus. Then you're going to have to make a call, because then it's a biohazard, because you have bodily fluids all over the bus. Then everybody's going to get mad at you, and everybody's going to scream at you, because then you have to do a coach change, and then you have to switch the buses out, and then it's too much. I was like, you watch those movies of like a guy goes to like to rewire an explosive, right? Is it the red wire? Is it the blue wire? I was like that, except there was only one wire, one tube, and it was a catheter full of urine. Don't want to screw that up. Everything was fine, right? But it was very anxiety inducing. I was stressed. Trust me, I was dripping sweat after that. So that was the first story. Number 2, this is another one. This was actually the same week. This was my first week on my own as a bus driver. I pull into a transit center. I pull up to a bus stop. And a little ways is maybe about like 20 feet away, there's a bus shelter for that particular stop. And there is a guy sitting there with no shoes on, smoking a cigarette. Now, I've learned now in a year's time, it was less than a year, that when you see certain people at bus stops, you just ignore them. Okay, it's just, there's certain people, there's certain mannerisms that when you see them, you ignore them, you don't talk to them, you don't offer them a ride. If they don't get up, you don't talk to them, right? I didn't know that. Little innocent, dumb Daniel sees the guy smoking, and you know, you can't smoke on the bus. I pull up to the bus stop, and I actually got there early. So we have a thing called time points. So if I get to a bus stop early, I'm not supposed to leave the bus stop until a particular time point. And that does happen. We are on time sometimes. Public transit is on time sometimes. But when we are, we're not supposed to leave for a certain time because people have certain connections, and all the buses are on like this time schedule where buses are supposed to overlay and overlap where people can make connections, right? Right. So I pull up. I had 4 minutes before my pull out, and I'm like, hey, man, do you want a ride? Because he didn't notice the bus, and he was sitting at the stop that I'm at. He looks up and he's like, oh, yeah, man. Oh, he puts out a cigarette, runs over, and I'm like, sir, your shoes. I can't let you on the bus without shoes. He's like, oh, man, I'm sorry. He goes, puts his shoes on, gets on the bus. Now, this just happened to be the very first passenger of my morning. It was around 8 o'clock in the morning. And it was about a 3-mile drive to the next stop. So this was the only guy. And it was a weekend, too. I should specify it's a weekend. So weekends are really extra slow, and there's usually not a lot of people on the weekends riding the bus. So it's just this guy in the bus and me. He gets on the bus, and immediately, he sits right behind me on the seat, passenger seat. And he just starts venting to me about his day and how he's in a really tough spot. And me going through therapy and me learning how to extend and offer empathy and sympathy in ways that I never have because I am autistic and I got diagnosed as an adult and it's been a whole transition. I started offering empathy, and I'm like, man, I'm so sorry that happened. The first thing he told me is that his wallet was stolen, right? And he said he didn't have a bus pass. I don't care. You can come on. I'm the type of bus driver. I will let you drive for free. I don't care if you pay or you don't pay. It does not bother me. If you need a ride, I'll give you a ride. He gets on, starts opening up to me about how he lost his wallet. I'm like, man, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Then he proceeds to tell me, after his wallet was stolen, that he got in a car accident. And in the car accident, his wife and son both died. Now, there was a split moment where I'm like, whoa, that's heavy. And then it clicked in my head. I'm like, what? He lost his wallet. Got in a car accident, his son and his wife died, and then right after that, during the car accident, he got mugged, and they took his clothes and his shoes, and he told me this, he had nothing, he was naked, and his mom and his son and his wife were dead in a car accident, and he had nothing, naked, because the people who caused the car wreck mugged him, and they assaulted him and punched him in the head for his wife and son dying in the car wreck, but he survived. You see where I'm going with this? Now, when he described being mugged, he lost it. He's like, my wife, my son, and I got mugged. I have nothing. I just need to make it to Seattle. He burst. And I'm talking like Niagara Falls, teardrops, just sobbing like, and I'm just like, that's when I stopped acknowledging like, yeah, man, I'm sorry you went through that. I'm like, what is going on here? Now, right after that, he says to me, hey, man, as he's crying, is there a bathroom? And I'm like, we are exactly like 7 minutes from the next stop, and there's actually restrooms. And I'm like, sir, just hold it, right? Just hold it. I'm like, the next stop is happening. Now, in between that 7 minutes, he asked me it was 9 times. He asked me 9 times, are we to Seattle yet? Are we to Seattle yet? Are we to Seattle yet? And I'm like, dude, Seattle is a 45-minute drive from where we're at. No. And I'm like, the next bathroom is literally, oh my God. I'm not even joking, and this is not exaggerated. I'm not being hyperbolic here. I'm one block away from my stop where there are bathrooms. This dude pisses. Full blown, like, I don't know how long he had been holding it, but it was enough to fill a urinal halfway up. And I hear the water dripping from the seat onto the floor. It's like, you know, it's like that sound that water makes when you hear something spilling. I'm like, oh my God, right? I pull into the bus stop. The guy gets up. He looks to me, right? And he says, hey man, I spilled a soda. You might want to clean that up. Walks off the bus. And as he's walking off the bus, his backside from his like here is and down to his knees are filled. He was wearing sweatpants, are filled with urine. And there was a little urine trail all the way out the door. And I'm like, dude, we were one stop away, and you decided, and then you tried to pass it off as you spilled a soda. And the funny thing is, he actually left a soda can in the seat to mask it as urine. I don't know if it was an empty soda can and he spilled it with the urine, but it was urine. Trust me, you could smell that stuff. The coloration was enough. It was urine. Had to make the call. Then I had a supervisor come meet me, and they had, and believe it or not, they did not take me out of service because it was a weekend. So they just tied the seat down with yellow tape, and then the supervisor pulled out like this special cleaning thing I've never seen before and just wiped the floor, and that was that. And then I continued about my day. But that was all in 1 week. That was my first week on the job. That really set what I was in for and the type of things that I can expect as a bus driver. All right, now a more funny story. So as I was in training, this is story 3 of bus driving. I was in training. I was actually in what's called route training, which is a separate training. There's normal training on how you drive a bus, and then there's route training, which is specifically on learning bus routes. The bus route was an interesting one. I was a little overwhelmed starting it because when there's like 50, 60, 70 bus routes, right? It's overwhelming. Like, how am I going to learn all this? But I'm so shocked to say that what everybody told me was true, is that once you start driving it every single day, it just comes to you naturally. How, I don't know, but you just start to learn it, and you're going to make mistakes here and there, but once you make a mistake as a bus driver driving, you will never make a route mistake ever again. That's the trade secret of bus driving. If you're confused on a route, you mess up, you're going to make sure that you never mess up again, because everybody's mad at you, everybody's yelling at you, everybody's calling you names, and everybody's like, this is not where we're supposed to be. What are you, new? It's like, yeah, we are new, actually. Thanks for asking. But there's a particular transit center, so I pull into this transit center, and I'm with another bus driver who's route training me. And we open the door, and we actually have like a 15-minute break. So we both get out of the bus, secure our bus, and we're at the transit center. And this homeless guy walks up. And I guess the other bus driver knew who this guy was. He's like a regular or whatever. And he puts his backpack down. The other bus driver introduces me to this homeless guy. He's like, yeah, I'm training today, blah, 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 just small talk. And then the homeless guy opens his backpack and pulls out a little Tupperware thing. It has a lid on it. He's like, hey, man, you want to see my new food? He's talking to the other bus driver. And he opens this little Tupperware open. And it's a bunch of beautifully sliced steak pieces. And like medium rare. It smelled wonderful. The Tupperware itself had a bunch of mold in it and stuff. I mean, the guy's homeless, so I don't expect him to have some high quality Tupperware. But I was like, oh, man, it looks good. But like, oh, it's in a moldy container with a bunch of mold all around it that's never been washed. And he's like, man, I'm going to eat good tonight. And the other bus driver was like, yeah, what restaurant do you get that from? He's like, yeah, I go to this restaurant at the end, and sometimes I have leftover steak and they give it to me. I have a pretty good relationship with the owner, and he's one of the nicest owners of this particular restaurant because he gives the homeless people free steak that's left over that's not used, which is, I think that's pretty commendable. That's awesome. If I ever own a restaurant, that's going to be me. But he has this little Tupperware open with steak. He takes his hand and goes like this. He goes, He's eating it. And then all of a sudden he turns to me and the other bus driver. I swear to God. Okay. I swear to God. He goes like this. And just lets out a gigantic... Oh, you want to see my new tattoo? I haven't shown this to anybody yet. I gotta... Oh my God, can you see this? I don't know. Look at my beautiful leg. Oh my Lord. Look at that. Does it come on the camera? Zoom in. There we go. You see that? I don't know. It's not zooming in very well. This is my new tattoo. It is Donatello. If my camera would focus, would be really, really, really nice right now. There's Gengar, Kirby. Oh my goodness. It's not really... I'm sorry, this camera lens is not cooperating. Anyway, if you want to see my tattoo, you can go to my Instagram or Twitter. Point being, he farted. And me, being who I am, I'm a kid at heart, I burst into laughter, and I'm like, yeah, man, that was a good one. And he laughed, came up to me, and fist bumped me. And now every time I see that guy, he has some sort of food. I see him. I fist bump him, he lifts up his leg, and he farts, which has earned him the nickname Steak McFart. That's one of my people, okay? Steak McFart, a memorable, funny guy who's homeless, who loves to fart and eat good food. You know, you can't get any better. You can't get a more comedic story than that. I know that sounds unbelievable, but it's real. He's a real person. It's a real experience, and you know, it's kind of the humor that you kind of develop, and you meet some really interesting characters as a bus driver. And yeah, Steak McFart, cool dude, always fist bumps, and he always farts. All right, let me see, what other bus stories? This one doesn't pertain to me particular, but we have a guy who drives the bus as a passenger. He's nicknamed Masterblaster. You may figure why he's called Masterblaster. Apparently, you know, certain people who are registered, you know what, they have rights apparently, and they can ride the bus as much as they want, and we can only ban people for a certain matter of time off the bus. And anytime he gets unbanned, he comes right back on the bus and he does the same thing over and over and over again. He's called Master Blaster because he likes just to whip it out when women or young women are on the bus. And he likes to scrape the hawk and unload onto everybody in public. So that's a thing that happens. He's kind of earned a reputation for that. Let me think. I shockingly haven't had anybody vomit yet on my bus. A lot of my classmates have experienced that, of people just throwing up. I have not. I've really had no really super dramatic, crazy experiences happen on my bus because I, for one, am the type of bus driver who lets everybody ride for free, and I'm not stingy, and I'm not an old curmudgeon who is set in my black and white ways where back in my day, if you didn't pay for the bus, we wouldn't let you ride. Well, my job has a no fare dispute policy, meaning that if somebody doesn't pay, you're not to make an issue out of it. However, the majority of bus driver assaults where the driver gets assaulted is typically from older drivers refusing to let somebody ride because they didn't pay 50 cents or a penny or $2 or $3 or however much it costs. It's really stupid. I think it's dumb that, which is crazy because just one county over, they don't even charge bus fare, but all the other bus companies do charge bus fare, but we have a no fare dispute policy, meaning that if nobody pays, we're not supposed to make it an issue. All the assaults that do happen are people who make it an issue. It's like this loophole that just doesn't stop because these older bus drivers are just so stuck in their ways that they can't realize that some people don't have 50 cents. Some people don't have $1. Some of these people are homeless. And for you to expect them to be able to pay and say something like, you can't ride 2 blocks because you don't pay $3, I think is just super archaic, and these older drivers need to adapt, retire, or get a different job because clearly customer service is not in your best interest if you cannot let things go, and especially with the company changing their policy on not enforcing fare, maybe you should actually listen to the rules and just let people ride. Look, I deny people sometimes on the bus. It happens, right? I'm not supposed to let people who are super intoxicated on the bus or super, people. I've already had somebody smoke the FETANAL, something null. Yeah, I've had them do that. Like, there are legitimate reasons to not let somebody ride the bus. Not paying the fare is not one of them. And I'm just tired of hearing of coworkers at my job getting in trouble or making an issue bigger for themselves because they can't let their ego let somebody get on the bus without paying, right? Like, it's an old man mentality and one that needs to change, in my personal opinion. So if you're ever on my bus, you don't need to pay, okay? I'll flat out tell you that. Just don't come on the bus drunk, and don't smoke, and don't swear at people and assault people, and don't be disruptive. That's really it. Like, I'm a very, very, very chill bus driver, and I'm trying to, kind of break the stereotype that not all bus drivers are absolute POSs. But I guess one day at a time, right? Another bus story that I had, and this was actually fairly recent too, and I've never had somebody say this to me before. So if you live in Washington, you would know that there's a very, very large military base here in Washington. It's, I think, one of the biggest, military bases in the U.S., I think. And it just so happens that we actually go into the military base. So I drive in there. I happen to have an ADA person. Now, because of the military base, you deal with a lot of people who are military, obviously. But we go to a particular area where there are people with, like, trauma and PTSD and things. So you do meet some interesting people. I've seen veterans who have gone through some crazy experiences, people who are missing limbs, people who have went through war, people who have experienced this horrible treatment by our militaries, right? So I've seen a lot of really sad situations. This was just an old, grumpy old man in a wheelchair. He had all of his legs, whatever, right? I pushed him onto he couldn't get onto the bus on the wheelchair ramp, so I pushed him on there. And as I'm pushing him on there, he looks me up and down like this. And he scoffs at me. Oh. I didn't say anything. It's like, okay, he's clearly judging me. It's whatever. I don't care. It's not a big deal. So about halfway through the trip, right? I'm riding my bus. I get to a stop. I unhook him. He scoffs at me again. He's like, so when did they start hiring convicts? And I was kind of really taken back by that. I was like, what? I didn't even know what to say. I'm like, what is he calling me? And it didn't even click. I'm like, wait, he's calling me a convict? Because I have, and I was wearing shorts. Tattoos? Because both my legs, right and left legs, have really big tattoos on them. I'm like, okay. I pushed him off the bus, and I was like, bye, sir. Nothing. Didn't say bye. Nothing. No thank you. I'm like, okay, man. When did they start hiring convicts? I was like, well, okay, that's a really mean thing to say to somebody, but you can check my record. I've never been in prison. I've never broken the law, as far as I'm aware. So I was just, man, I've never seen somebody be so judgmental towards tattoos, right? I would think that I would imagine people being judgmental towards my piercings, because I get that a lot online. People call me and make fun of me for my piercings and stuff like that. And I've had that happen in person, but I've never had somebody insult me for having leg tattoos or shoulder tattoos. And plus, when I'm in my uniform, you can't even see my tattoos up here. You can see my leg tattoos if I'm wearing shorts, and I don't even wear shorts that often unless it's super hot. I was just really off-put by that. Fourth, or is this my fifth? My fourth or fifth story. So this one really angered me. By the way, if I have anybody who works for the Seattle Police Department, you all suck. Seattle PD, you guys are horrible. You guys are terrible police officers. Like, I've worked with police now with my job, and there are certain police departments that are just, some are way better than others. Plain and simple. The Seattle Police Department, you search them up on Google, you will see that they have a lot of controversy. There was a lot of bad cops. There's a lot of corruption. And for whatever reason, the Seattle PD are terrible. And I just so happened to have an experience with a police officer who made my day really, really bad. So let me tell you about it. It was last summer. I was on my own, and it was a hot day, right? My bus is full, meaning that every single seat in that bus is somebody sitting there, which people are allowed to stand on the bus, so I'm allowed, I think, half of whatever the seats are. So if there's 50 seats, cut that in half, that's 25. I can allow 25 people standing up on the bus for a total number, because there is a number of limit on people I'm allowed to have on the bus, because then it becomes a tripping hazard, and then because if somebody falls, blah 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 blah, whatever. I only had a couple people standing, so there was still more standing room. I pull up to this bus stop. The Seattle PD is pulled up at the bus stop. They're dealing with something. The people get on the bus, fill up the remaining seats. There's a couple other people get on who are standing, and I'm just about to pull out of my bus zone, and I see the cop, wave me down. He waves me down. Oh my God. What do you think he had to say? Oh, he's like, yeah, hold on a moment. I got another passenger for you. And it's this homeless guy, all right? It's this black homeless guy. And there's a reason I'm mentioning that he's black, okay? I will get into this later, near the end. There's this homeless guy with a blanket. He struggles up and gets to the bus, and I tell him he can't get on the bus because he's not wearing any shoes, okay? We don't allow people on the bus with no shoes. It's disgusting. It's stinky. No, 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 no. He puts his shoes on, he takes his water bottle and blanket and backpack, and for whatever reason, I don't know why he did this when he got on the bus, but instead of just getting on the bus and sitting down, he threw all of his things, he was on the crosswalk, and he threw his bag, threw his blanket, and threw a couple other things in the area where I'm sitting right next to, and then he jumps on the bus and then drags it across the floor to the back where there's a couple steps, there's 2 steps, and then he sits on the bus and wada, and then immediately, funny enough, as soon as I take off, he takes off his shoes, whatever. I'm on the highway, so I'm not in a place where I can just pull off and, kick somebody off. I can't kick somebody off on the highway. Regardless, before I take off, though, the officer steps in, he's like, hey, I need you to take this guy back to this particular city. He's been an issue. If he causes an issue on the bus, give us a call. And I'm like, okay. Because here's the thing, in my job, we are taught that if a police officer gives us instructions, we are supposed to follow them. Well, it just so happens that police officers are really stupid, and not all police officers are stupid, but a good portion of them are. And when I've had issues where police officers will redirect traffic, and then they get me, a bus driver, stuck in a situation where I can't get around, or then I'm like, I can't make that turn, and then I'm stuck there, and then I have to wait for a supervisor. Oh my God, it's a whole thing. Anyways, I'm getting... I don't have any water in this. Great. My voice is getting parched. 1 second. Whoa, cat! You... All right, now that that's out of the way. Oh my God, that's so much better. So the police officer tells me if he shows any issues, just give us a call. Great. I pull off, go on the highway. I get onto the highway. Guy takes off his shoes, and about 10 minutes into the highway driving, the guy, I don't know if he had a vape. I don't know if he had a devil's lettuce pen. I don't know. He pulled out something. And mind you, this is a full bus. And he takes a gigantic puff and blows it. Right? Then he's sitting all the way in the back, and all the seats are filled. And immediately I hear this guy scream, "There's no smoking on the bus!" I jumped because anytime somebody yells like that, it always startles me. And then I yelled, "There's no smoking on the bus." He does it another 2 times. He smokes on the bus. People are yelling at him, telling him to stop smoking. And then at some point, halfway through the trip, he tells a passenger, and I hear him say this, he's like, "If you don't shut the fuck up, I'm going to take out a knife and I'm going to slit your throat." Yeah. And then everybody started yelling at him, which honestly just escalated the situation. I don't know if the guy had a knife or not, but he threatened to slice somebody's throat open, which is very disruptive, and that is a bannable offense. And for the rest of the trip, I'm keep looking at my mirror. I'm like, oh my God, if this guy pulls out a knife on a bus full of people, what am I supposed to do? I am on the highway, right? I cannot just stop. I mean, I can stop, but I can't kick somebody out on the highway, because if I kick somebody out on the highway and they get hit, I'm going to be blamed for it. And I'm going to be fired. Like, this is a horrible situation. How do I handle this? I made a call. I'm like, yeah, I have a passenger who's making threats to harm other passengers on the bus. And they told me, just wait till you get to your next stop and we'll have security there. So that's what I did. I waited, got to my next stop. He didn't hurt anybody, just making threats. Security came, grabbed the guy, pulled him off. Now, right as it ended, right, two things happened. The last two people on the bus, passengers, ran up to me, and I'm sitting here letting everybody off the bus. One was this black woman, and one was this white, older gay man. The reason I say this is because this is still funny when I think about it. Now, the lady came up to me and thanked me. She said, hey, I just wanted to thank you so much for giving that guy a ride. You don't know how hard it is for people like him to get rides and get him where he needed to go. I know he was a bit disruptive, but I just want to say I thank you for giving him a ride. And I'm like, oh, of course, whatever, right? Like, I'm mumbling under my breath because this guy was like clearly broke the bus rules and he was causing issues and threatening passengers, but I'm not going to say like, fuck him. I'm like, okay, lady, whatever, you know, whatever. The gay guy comes up at the same time. Here's what that woman says, gets in her face and says, he shouldn't have he should not have picked up that guy. He was a disruption. He was threatening people's lives. And why in the world did that Seattle police officer throw that homeless black guy on the bus? And then the other lady turned to him, the black lady, and was like, you know, why don't you mind your own business? Maybe if you would spend less time being I can't say this slur. It's not really a slur, but the F-A-G-G-E-T, F-A-G-G-O-T, she called him that. And I'm just sitting, this is like right next to my face, and they're both, yeah, and he's like, what did he say? He's like, you definitely voted for Biden. That's what he said to her. And then they just started verbally like fighting in front of me and just insulting each other. And she was insulting him for being a gay man. And then he was insulting her for allowing the guy, for thanking me appreciation for letting the guy ride on the bus. And I stopped them both from arguing. And I said to him, like, if you guys are going to argue, you need to step off the bus. I have a place to go. And they stepped off the bus and continued arguing over this guy that was forced on the bus. I don't know. It was funny to me. It was funny, kind of crazy, a little bit scary. It had its scary moments when somebody's threatened to like harm other people. But at the end of the day, it wasn't to anything that I couldn't handle. So that's that. That was I think that was the most intense drive I've ever had, was somebody threatening other people to harm them. But outside that, my bus experiences have not been too extreme or too crazy. I've had a lot of smaller situations, but nothing really super relevant to where I feel like it needs to be told into a story format. So yeah, those are my bus stories. That's happened in the last year. Before I end this video, though, I need to give a special shout out. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you, okay? I appreciate you for watching the video this long. How long are we going? 39 minutes. This is 39 minutes. I've been talking for 39 minutes. That's crazy. Anyways, so do you see that? Probably not see this. You see that thing right there? What you're looking at here is a custom-made statue, okay? It says Repsion, right? You can see the level of detail. This entire statue, Donatello. Look at that. Look at the detail. This was all hand painted. This was 3D printed. This is a resin 3D print. It all clicked together. Custom made Donatello statue. This sits about 13 inches in height. It's incredibly detailed. I want you to go support this artist by the name of Lynx. Her channel is linked down below. She's at 4.7 thousand subscribers. Let's help her reach 5,000, which I think if I'm doing my terrible math, that's only 300 more people, and she'll be 5,000. So she makes these things, okay? She handmade this. She printed it with her 5 3D printers, and I watched her paint this entire statue live on YouTube. If you want to see her paint this whole statue, you can. The video is on her YouTube channel. But I just wanted to show this off to you guys because it's so incredibly cool, and it's massive, and it's actually affordable. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Sideshow Collectibles, but their statues are like $500, $1,000. They're crazy expensive. This is very customizable, depending on what you want, how you want it. I mean, this is so detailed. I don't know how well you can even see this, but those are like Harry Potter book. Those are actual little books. Harry Potter, Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey is on there. I mean, come on, for God's sake. It says Repsion on it. That is as custom as you can get. I've never had a statue made like this ever in my entire time on YouTube. This is a very unique thing that I've had made for me, and it's very cool. So I wanted to just shout it out, shout her channel out. Links known as Cat's Clayations. Her channel is linked down below. Go subscribe to it. If you want something custom made, hit her up because she can do it, and she'll probably live stream the whole thing and you can see it start to finish. The whole point is that this is affordable and you're supporting a small business, which is something that I've always been a huge advocate of. And anytime that I can support a small business and showcase a small business, I will. Especially if they make something as cool as this for me. Like, it's just incredible. I am blown away at the quality of this thing, and it's affordable, and it's awesome, and she can make anything that you possibly can imagine. So, she also makes personal statues of like people's pets too, which is a whole thing. So yeah, check out the channel. Let's get her to 5,000 subscribers. And if you like nerd statues, she's the person you should go to. So if you've managed to watch this far in the video, I want to say thank you. I know this is a long video and I'm just yapping, but if you've watched it this far, thank you very much. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you guys next month for another video. And until then, peace.